what you've been doing is pretty good, and I like to think that I've seen you start from somewhat, on a journey, not the beginning of your journey.
Yeah.
But definitely a change, and
You've seen, well, the thing is, so right now, we've been in this house, I think, 5 years, and I was teaching at the other facility for about 2. And then, when did you take class with me?
Costa de Luz.
Yeah.
It was probably around, the 5-year mark. I think I've been in Austin for 6.5 or something like that.
Okay.
And I think probably...
How long have you been in Austin whenever you first took class?
Probably almost about that,
Somewhere in there.
yeah, almost as soon as I moved down here. So probably just under a year, I think.
Yeah. So you've seen the bulk of the changes.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like you saw, I think the class you took at Casa, I think was almost like sold out. We had like a fairly large number.
Yes, we had a fairly large number, but the class that you had before, you couldn't get enough people in.
That's what it was.
So
yeah.
we had to wait a little bit longer to do
yeah.
the class and everything. So I'm jealous. The books that you have now in your class are a lot better than the sheet of paper that I
still
had.
have old copies, and I take those out. I need to take those out one day and make a video where I show those.
I don't know if you drew on it yourself or something.
Oh, yeah, well, Austin, Andrea's son. Like, I literally put in a pair of Vicar trunks, and I drew on it with a Sharpie. Yeah.
Yeah. So the workbooks are a lot better now. So.
Yeah.
But the content. I think the way you explain the content, it was good for me.
Yeah.
I'm somebody that's always been active, and I think the work that you do, I think, really resonates with people that are active. Because most active people, when they do body work on someone else, I think they go through and they're like, what motion are they doing?
Yeah.
And I think when you do those, you can relate that. You can relate to other things.
Yeah.
So the yoga teachers that you said really pick up on what you do. They're already doing it, but now they can, it's opened up their mind a little bit more.
Yeah. More hands-on.
More hands-on, but they have different avenues. It's a license to touch in a way that they wouldn't have thought about before.
Yeah.
I think that's could be a challenge sometimes if you don't do it.
There's a lot of, different factors when it comes to working with people, and lots of different students, when I have a full class, come from very different perspectives, and I just try to meet them in the middle as best I can to help them with where they're at. The massage therapists make up the bulk of the students, and they have their own sort of like baggage. I mean, it's luxury designer baggage. But even when I've taught a class where, let's say somebody's had some shiatsu training previously, and I'll teach something and call it this Thai massage, intro Thai, and then they're like, well, we learned it this way in shiatsu. And it's like, okay,
right.
So do it backwards. Like, I don't,
right.
It's not, I'm not teaching you not really a sequence. And I'm not really teaching, especially in intro Thai, like a real set, formulaic sort of thing about sun lines. I'm just teaching you where the lines are so you can work them. Like, you don't have to, it's like if you work from the foot up the leg or work from the leg down, is there a real difference in how the person feels?
Right. To me, I think there's only a difference it's going to be different to different people.
Yeah. So it may be good to know both the shiatsu and Thai massage and reboot and whatever else that you want to do. Yeah.
I think you really have to be diverse, and when you approach your client, or you not really have to be diverse, but you should have a background to reach from, and an exploratory, an exploratory mind. When you do it, I think that's when you, like we said before when we were talking earlier, when you get into routine, you stop the healing, because you're not listening any longer.
Yeah. You're not listening. Repeating a formula.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why karate practitioners can practice their katas all day long, but then they get into a real fight, it may break down.
Yeah.
And most likely will break down.
Yeah.
So.
And it does get to a point where I would assume, I'm not a military person, but I assume that, you train for battle again and again and again to where those things are reflexive.
Yes.
You don't have to think. Because thinking in battle is death. You have a general think. Once you're in battle, you're relying on training. Yeah.
Yes. It's the training. You've trained a feeling, I think, because most people say they don't think when it's in a battle, or if it's in any type of, I guess, Michael Jordan, when he's, going from one goalpost to the next, he's feeling the whole game. He is the game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we have to do when we do body work is not concentrate on a specific move that somebody may think is good, but breathe with that person and really feel with that person.
That's where,
that's
to me, it's the most simple thing in the world, but it's the hardest thing to convey and teach.
Yes.
I talk about it constantly. When I talk to students, like I'll figure out ways to convey it. And I told Knives Monroe, the videographer I work with, he loves film, and I was like, Knives, watch Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, it's a documentary. Like, the cutting and editing might not be the best thing you've ever seen, because he loves that from an art standpoint. Right. But I was like, Jiro Dreams of Sushi is basically what I'm trying to do in bodywork. And the thing is, in the movie just completely, I go back and watch it again and again, it just completely blew my mind, because they were working with an octopus, and basically, they would go and get the best octopus at the market, the guy who's the octopus guy, who knows the octopus, and when the octopus is most tender, or, whatever it is, you have to deal with this, something that nobody else thinks about. And then when they would deal with the octopus, they would massage the tentacles for a certain amount of time to try to change the texture. And it was like 5 minutes wasn't enough. 10 minutes wasn't enough. 20 minutes wasn't enough. And I'm like looking at my TV like, wait, what? And they're like, 40 minutes is perfect. I'm like, oh my God, you have a guy in your kitchen who is massaging octopus tentacles by hand for 40 minutes to make a goddamn piece of sashimi? And Jiro's like, the texture is perfect. And I was like, that's it. It's like, it's not what I think of as sushi anymore. Mm-hmm. It's art. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the difference is, and I would tell people, Jiro Ono is not worried about a sushi shop opening up down the street, because they're not producing what he's producing, not because they're incapable of it, but they're not going to dedicate themselves to mastery over time, because he refused to settle.
Yes.
And that's what I keep, or see, at least I can fist bump you, because I know you're in the same boat. Like, you don't want to settle for what you consider like inadequate. I have this almost maniacal focus on perfection, if you will, in my industry specifically, and that's a very Asian trope, even though I'm a Westerner. Mm-hmm. Like, there aren't many educators in our industry that I can look up to and think, I want to be like that person. Mm-hmm. Like, if anything, I look at a lot of the educators and I go, well, that's cool, but like, I want to go further than that. Right. I want to be able to, be 80, 90 years old still teaching, and then see that basically we've influenced an entire industry of body workers where it's become high art. It's not just large chain spas, it's independent practitioners and smaller spas doing like niche bodywork services that weren't available, when we started.
So you kind of want to do a blend of the old and the new, because I think at the beginning it was more independent massage therapist. At least my take. My mentor was independent.
In massage.
Yeah, in massage in general.
Well, I think they had to start there because the facilities didn't exist yet.
Yeah. Right. And I think people still want to be. They want to aspire to be on their own, but now there's more massage therapists in the game. There's bigger companies in the game that. We have to change the way we do things, in order to stand out sometimes, but also also to elevate, to keep elevating. You talk about other practitioners, how you want to go further. To me, maybe at that time, they had a view of perfection. But everybody, you can't stay the champion, all the time. Someone's always going to push the envelope. Someone, first it was Jesse Owens, now it's Usain Bolt. You can always push it. And some people are like, oh, you're never going to go, you're going too far. Or, or going that far is going to kill you, so.
Well, the sort of sushi, product that Jiro is delivering, was mainly for himself. He likes that people enjoy his sushi, but his sort of maniacal focus wasn't to make money, and his maniacal focus wasn't to franchise, and his maniacal focus wasn't to serve it to everybody.
Right.
His maniacal focus was basically, it really sits in this deep-seated Japanese like Zen of like, it's almost like enlightenment through your work. This relentless pursuit of perfection, where it's like, if we talked about ethics in relation to like eating animals, like he killed an octopus. Like octopus are really smart, but at the same time, if I had to be an octopus, the most honorable guy is probably Jiro Ono. When that knife went in, it's like
because he honored the octopus I guess you can go back to when hunter-gatherers and the difference between now hunting for sport and hunting for food.
Yeah, it's like it's a very different, it's like, and there's nothing wrong with sushi on like a conveyor belt. Right. There's a place in the marketplace for that. That wasn't what he was interested in. That trope of the Asian master, I've even taken it out before, because when I was a kid, the first time I saw it was The Karate Kid. It was Mr. Miyagi.
What, eating sushi?
No, that Asian trope of mastery. The Asian master. And the thing is, Mr. Miyagi would teach Danielson, paint the fence, wax on, wax off. And like Danielson got mad. Right. It was like, all you're doing is have you do all your chores. And he's like, show me wax on, wax off. And he like fights.
He does the practice and he's like, I get it.
But and the thing is, he was like, he painted a section of the fence. And he was like, Mr. Miyagi, I'm done. He's like, what? And then he showed him the rest of the fence.
He did the whole
and it was
fence.
like, oh man.
And then you do the deck too. And so, the Karate Kid was a good one for me, but for me, the perfection was The Last Dragon.
The Last Dragon? What's that one?
Bruce Leroy.
Oh,
yeah. And, the glow and perfection and him chasing the master.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden he was the master, in the thing. And, we all are the masters. And sometimes that's what we know. Sometimes we can't just follow somebody else.
No.
We have to blaze a path on our own, and sometimes it's not until the end of that path where we're like, "Hey, you guys are all following me, cool."
Yeah, it's this thing when I talked to Paige, because Paige Evans wrote that nice blog post, and I shared it. And then I hashtagged, because I think it's important for students, I hashtagged that collaboration was bigger than competition.
Yes.
It's like, having Paige in the industry locally here in Austin doing mat-based work is good. It broadens and diversifies bodywork perspectives to see an independent practitioner, start to lift up, and it gives other practitioners who want to do the same hope.
My first thought, especially after going and looking at her blog, by the way, awesome blog, the way she had it written down, it almost made me want to book an appointment, because she explained everything that people have questions on, and she had her own personality in it. She had some pictures there that showed things that were different, that you don't normally see in a traditional massage. But what I liked was that the people weren't just stuck on the mat either. She had an outlet, hey, I didn't forget about the table too. So the people that still want the traditional table, you can do that. She did both, and it was really nice. But my first thought was, man, I would like to collaborate with her. It looks like she's doing something different and innovating, and some good. It seems like she was on her way to doing good body work. I don't know how long she's been doing massage for. Or anything.
I think it's under a couple of years, if I remember correctly.
Right. So to me, that's not to put anybody down or anything, but to me, 2 years is is very new, especially on the way to touching 10,000 people, 10,000 hours of body work. I think you have to have a certain amount of time to be, to be good at anything. But aside from that, I think, the blog was good, and I thought of collaboration. That's what I think is good. That's what I always thought was good, is going to trade with other massage therapists, going to see what their body work is like. Oh, hey, that's cool. That was really what I enjoyed first about massage. You know, everybody had something different, but it was still in the same goal path. So, it's seeing other people now doing this. Like I said at the beginning, when you first started, there were some people here that did mat therapy, but they weren't as upfront as an upcomer like you were. They've been in the industry for a while now, and the industry has changed a little bit, and it was nice to see somebody like you coming in and changing things, which really changed my body work. It really filled the hole that I was looking for. I think we've discussed that before. But now, I see other people doing it. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is awesome. Now there's a community for us to talk about that. And to me, it's cool now that people can blend both of their table work, mat work, whatever you want to do. Being in Austin has allowed me to see a bunch of different body work.
Yeah.
From Lomi, Ashiatsu, barefoot massage, your mat work. There's a bunch of different things. And I think we should all just grab it and use it.
Yeah, lots of different options. The service that people can deliver is a lot more diverse than they think it is at first.